crazy. Bought her flowers the next day. Even suggested
Yes,
she
for
acted
me.
like nothing happened. Just went back to normal, like she didn't just threaten to blow up our entire life. But then it happened again and again. Anytime she didn't get her way, out came the threat I wanted to visit my parents for Christmas. Divorce threat. I said we couldn't afford a trip to Hawaii. Divorce threat. I suggested our son Ethan go to the public school instead of the expensive private one. You guessed it. Then sat there with her arms crossed, with my birthday wish all for one. Your way of winning every argument without actually. So I didn't calculated planning. For 2 months, I pretended everything was totally fine. I still made breakfast. Still took Ethan to soccer practice. Still kissed her goodbye and left for work. But during my lunch break, I was more than Gray. But knew My mom tried to force me to cut my hair, so my aunt stepped in and made sure she regretted.
Dreams of changing his village. However, when he wakes up, he is shocked to discover that he is
Hold up. I have a pretty simple design, but it looks cool.
magics: fire, water, wind, or earth. And those who possess other forms of magic are often seen as a disgrace. Since his father and brothers all possess one of the 4 elemental affinities, he looks forward to discovering his own abilities. Next, he asks for whether there is only one port where ships can sail, and she explains that fish monsters inhabit the deep ocean, meaning they could be attacked from anywhere else. Then he asks about the different races in the world. She explains that there are dwarves, elves, and other races, but the other maid interrupts her, saying that it's too complicated for her. Van says it's fine because he wants to learn everything he can, and then asks about magical tools, prompting her to explain that magic crystals, gemstones, and special rocks and doors to restore magical abilities. These are interesting to his magical tools that correspond to a person's magical aptitude. Just then, a butler arrives and says that since he's 2, he knows that he's learning to read and do basic numeracy. Van reveals that his name is Spartan, a talented butler who has worked for his father for many years, and Van thinks he's scared. When Van says he can do a little addition and subtraction, he quickly asks what 2 plus 3 will be. Van answers correctly, and he decides to become his tutor. Van later reveals that he was then forced to Ellis lessons, though as a result, he was able to read and write within a few minutes. Even so, he can't understand how this is possible for a 2-year-old, and for the next 2 years he spends every day studying. When he turns 4, the weak swordsman is coming, though he struggles to get his skills, and constantly teases his Val. The other maid scolds her for insulting Val like that and tells her to punish her. He says he doesn't mind, yet they insist that disrespecting nobility is considered a crime, so the other maid hold her and wait for punishment. She lifts her fork and says the matter is settled and smiles at her. He continues training every day, and when he turns 5, he is par with the older children in his training. Although they're still close, their attacks are consistent, but thanks to the experience from his past life, he makes them more nimble and less confident than other children. He also praises his mother, saying her name is of lower status, unlike his brother, and makes it clear that he's a strange young boy, while making him brave. A man named he examines Val's hands and says that his skin is soft, even though he must be training at night. But Val replies that his studies are too tough for that. He then reveals that Sparta has been making him study 3 times harder than normal, which shocks Val, and he realizes why he was the only one studying at night. He then offers to personally teach him swordsmanship and promises to make him the nation's greatest swordsman. But Val replies that he enjoys both studying and swordplay and intends to do his best in both. Still, he insists on giving him sword lessons, although he promises to go easy on him because he's a child. It quickly turns out to be a clear lie since he gives him extreme training, forcing him to do hundreds of sets of various types of swings. Whenever he attempts to rest, Lee urges him to keep going, and orders him to sit on an imaginary chair, the only comfort he gets is when he praises him for working so hard to get his height. He admits that he has been having fun since his reincarnation. Unlike his previous life, where he rarely felt satisfaction, he vows to enjoy this life to the fullest. By the age of 6, he had become a prodigy. Every day, he went through hell with his studies and sword training. As a result, he becomes more exhausted with each passing day, and at this rate, he realizes he'll never actually enjoy the new life he was given. So one day, he decides to become a slacker. So he wants to play like a normal child and explore the market. Once he arrives in town, he becomes excited by all the activity around him. He explains that it's the largest market in the city, and that it is beside the very chamber of commerce building that his company with branches throughout the kingdom. Suddenly, their attention is drawn to a man dragging a well-nourished child tied with a rope like a man. The knights immediately prepare to intervene, but Van stops them and asks why the boy is distressed. The man replies that it's his son and that he wishes to sell him. They explain that the poor families sometimes sell their children into slavery because they cannot afford to feed them. Before Van can say anything, a woman arrives and is happy to see him. She runs down the stairs, saying that everyone has been talking about him, until shows her the great sacrifice. The woman introduces herself as Rosie, and then leaves the chamber at home, and asks what she can do. Van tells her that the man is selling his son and asks how much he would earn for him. Rosalie asks if the boy has any magical powers, and the man says he knows that they can. He says they won't give him more than 3 silver coins. Furious, the man starts beating him, yelling that he isn't worth much. Then he grabs him up and prepares to head to another shop, but before he can, Van says he'll buy the boy for 5 silver coins and tells Phil to make the payment. The man immediately takes the money and runs away, leaving his son behind. Van cuts the ropes and helps the boy stand. The boy introduces himself as Camson. He tells him that he's free and can go wherever wherever he wants. Till asks whether he didn't buy him as a slave, but he explains he simply wanted to help, and then he asks if he would like to come with him. The knights warn that the Marquis would never allow a random child into the mansion, but he will allow a slave. Van asks Camson whether he's willing to accept it, and Camson agrees. Rosalie then finalizes the slave contract. After holding their hands, she asks the scout if the magical seal on Camson's hand. She explains that the mark will remain until the contract is nullified. Van thanks her for helping, but she says it's fine and invites them to follow her upstairs. Although she can't believe a noble just thanked her, he and Camson then follow her. Later, Camson begins working for him. One day, Camson informs him that he is looking for him. He bribes Camson with a cookie, tells him to say that he couldn't find him. Van asks why he isn't wearing his clothes. He replies that he wants to show off the mark that symbolizes their bond. But when Van says he bought them for him, he puts them on. Soon, Dee arrives and Camson insists he couldn't find Van, but Dee points out that he literally saw Van in the room. Camson says he must be hallucinating because he has strong feelings for Van. Unfortunately, Dee notices a cookie crumb around his mouth and instantly realizes who's right. He asks how he could ignore the deputy commander's orders. When Camson replies he's one of the men, he decides to train him instead. When Van graduates, everyone in the room to learn what magical abilities he possesses. He hopes that he'll inherit higher opinion like his brothers and become their lord. However, all those expectations are washed away when Van says he has to teach the production magic. Jalpa is furious because production magic is the most useless type of magic in existence, since it allows him to create weapons and accessories from available materials by visualizing the result of his mind, which can easily be done without magic. So he asks how Van can ever execute magic every day. He calls himself a fool for expecting so much from him after he displayed rare talents, and decides to execute Van to avoid shame. Before he can act, Mercia steps in and suggests that he make Van the lord of an undeveloped remote village in the mountains. He says it's a nameless village with around 100 residents, no major industry, and prone to monster attacks. In addition, it shares borders with Bergado County and its rival kingdom of Yellowhead. Jalpa is convinced, and he appoints Van as the village's lord, thinking that since it's new territory, appointing one of their family members should win the citizens' loyalty. He also praises Mercia for finding a use for someone useless. After everyone leaves, Mercia apologizes to Van. He explains that he couldn't bear to see anything bad happen to him, which is why he made that rash proposal. Van thanks him, saying that as expected, he had fought the little children, and next morning, he was convinced that even without magic, he's still a wise noble and that sending him to a remote village is outrageous. But he says he's looking forward to going there since he won't have to do much, and that he'll have a lot of free time, as his life is character. He isn't allowed any chivalrous order techniques. Mercia hired 10 adventurers for the journey, and only Camson will accompany them. Suddenly, Hilda's running over, saying she's joined her. Then he also declares that he'll come too. So he continues teaching him sword lessons. When he asks whether he is not allowed to take anyone from the chivalric order, he says he has never heard that rule, and orders Knight Mara the Fawn to join him as well. The Sparta also retires as Jalpa's partner, so he can teach the educated man. Although he never asked him anything, he's happy that he still has so many people who care about him. He reveals that none of the carriages bear the family crest because Jalpa wants to put Van's departure as secret. However, everyone learns about his departure, and he tells him that grand farewell. Bob reveals that he ordered them to display the banners and let everyone know about his departure, which is not at all what Van or Jalpa want. He himself is announcing his intention. While the people want him to come back soon and take good care of them, in the end, he decides to say goodbye to them. So the Knight uses magic for the first time and creates a small sword from a few sticks. He hopes he can find a good way to make use of his magic. To the Marquise's manor if he wants to. He even offers to release him from the contract and will ask Mercia to find him a job. However, he refuses, saying he has already dedicated his life to him and will continue serving him forever. Van thinks that he's being a little too intense. Suddenly, the caravan comes to a halt, and the knights report that the village appears to be under attack. He tells him that the attackers must be bandits or washed-up mercenaries. He notes that the village is surrounded by a palisade, which is ineffective against arrows, and the villagers must be scared. He counts around 50 bandits. He suggests attacking them together to stop them, but the adventurers' leader, Porthos, says it's too dangerous since they are outnumbered, and that his group was hired to protect them, not risk their lives. He admits they may suffer a few their chances of victory. Van asks whether Sparta intends to continue fighting after that, and Sparta explains they'll protect the team. Van rejects his plan because he
Not going to go to bed and
argues
just
that this may
be
be the
next
last
to you.
chance to play a
You're going to bed.
Van insists that the people who have contributed so much to his house are invaluable to him, so he refuses to let Sparta, he or the knights risk their lives. Instead, he decides to be the decoy. Still immediately offense, he refuses to let anyone precious to him, and declares that he'll ride the carriage and attack the man.
I'm leaving the game. Stop giving stuff. She's
introduces himself and even thanks him for protecting him. Van also praised him, calling him a veteran hero, and they mocked him for being so ordinary and formal. Yet they quickly realized that not all nobles are the same way. Hearing that a noble child is willing to risk his own life for commoners, he and his team agreed to join the fight. He states he's a knight who swore his life to the fight. Protecting Van means protecting the future of the house. Desperata adds that he needs to teach Van the responsibilities of leadership after the battle is won. Sparta says he'll create a defensive wall and provide long-range support, after which he and the knights will charge from the left while Orthos' team will attack from the right. Once the wall is raised, everyone moves into position. While running, Orthos says that he may be protecting the community. And they're caught off guard when arrows suddenly rain down on them. The bandits are shocked to see a massive wall behind them and decide to attack whoever is behind them. Then he charges in and launches his assault. He tells his men that the enemy fell under their attack. Soon, Orthos' team attacks from the other side and surrounds the bandits. As they engage in battle, the bandits suffer heavy losses. Some of them try to run away, while one of them manages to reach the other side of the wall, where Van himself fights. Then Campson lands the final blow. Van orders the adventurers to guard the wall and prevent his enemies from escaping. Before long, most of the bandits are dead, while the survivors are arrested. Remarkably, Van's army suffers no casualties at all. Orphan is even more curious about Van and decides to stay here for some time. Some adventurers already have other commitments, so they leave, whereas some curious members decide to stay. They believe he's much nicer than most nobles and want to see what he accomplishes next. However, he will scold Van for risking his life and turning making himself dead. He continues his splendid victory and says that they're ready to enter the battle. Sidebar introduces himself to the small villages aren't worth protecting because they pay lower taxes. One villager yells at him for being rude. However, he calms them down and says they should focus on discussing the village's future. He admits that the nobles fail to fulfill their responsibilities and that the kingdom's laws contain many flaws. Although they can't change the entire system, they can work toward protecting the village. He proposes 3 solutions. Create something so valuable that the kingdom cannot ignore the village. Earn enough money to hire guards regularly, and develop the village itself. He promises that as their new lord, he will develop their village, but they don't trust him. Then Sparta steps forward and introduces himself. He reveals that Van was appointed lord at only 8 years old and has been considered a prodigy since his younger days. He introduces himself as well and explains that they're all here to serve him. The villagers are shocked to learn that their father and deputy commander here, but they're disappointed to learn that Van possesses only production magic. One of the men asks about taxes, explaining that they already struggle to pay 30% of their harvest. So Van simply cuts it down to 10% for some time, saying that they have to focus on rebuilding the village. He says that they should start by strengthening the defenses. He asks Sparta whether his earth wall can remain permanent, but Sparta explains that it loses stability and crumbles back into dirt. So he raises the wall until they find a better solution. Then he asks what else they can do, and he suggests adding pitfalls and snares as well. Then Van asks for everyone's cooperation, saying that together they can make this place even stronger than ever. Later, he kills and Campson into the forest so he can practice production magic. As he concentrates, he senses Max. Although she looks disappointed at first, she claims that she likes him. He also feels bad and says to make her a cute accessory later. They camp for the night, and he complains that his body aches from the long journey and that he feels dirty after being unable to bathe. He also realizes that before improving the village's defenses, he should secure the residents' basic needs. His first idea is to build a proper home. The next morning, he and his friends began to gather the blocks. Rhonda remarks that the spot they chose is perfect to build a lord's mansion. He uses his magic and visualizes 4 pillars standing at the corners and focuses on making them strong. Then he creates walls, floors, windows, and a roof. And within moments, a huge and magnificent mansion stands before them. The villagers and adventurers are surprised to see what he has created in a few seconds, giving everyone some hope. Everyone gathers around the newly built mansion. Hampson says that Van's production magic is more useful for governing the territory than elemental magic. Though it's a great skill, Van still believes offensive magic is better for protecting people. Till and Hampson immediately disagree, saying they already feel safe in his presence. Sparta explains that offensive magic may be useful during war, but what people really need is a leader capable of improving their lives, and in that sense no one is better than him. He agrees with Sparta, while Orko points out that Van's powers exceed those of regular production magic users. Van happily says that if they bring him luck, he can build houses for everyone. The crowd is shocked for a moment, then he orders Arden Law to gather. While Orko tells the same to his party, Rhonda asks whether he can build houses for the villagers. All the villagers start complaining about the bad condition of their houses. Van realizes that probably wear himself out. He notices their homes are in really bad shape, and he wants to make new ones for them as well, which makes him happy. He starts replacing the old rotten houses with improved wooden houses for everyone. The villagers are impressed by how organized the city is. Van complains that he is using a good layout. The 4 whole blocks are the He also plans to modify them according to each family's requirements once he learns to replace the He also constructs a public bathhouse beside the manor. Although he built it for himself, he's glad they like it too. The structure itself is simple, with Pluriel filling the baths using her water magic while Hampson heats the water with charcoal fires. When Till and Pluriel invite him to bathe with them, he feels embarrassed and says that he's a full-grown man, so the girls go ahead without him. Inside the bath, Pluriel can't believe Van allows commoners to enjoy this luxury. Till says that's just the kind of man he is, and Pluriel says he's full of surprises and calls him an incredibly kind child, which Till agrees with. Later, Van and Hampson take a bath together. Van notices that Hampson has built up some muscle, but he says he's still nowhere near to his level. And
Hey,
Van
can
points out
we
that
just
compared to Eve, everyone is weak. This only motivates Hampson, and he declares that he'll continue training until he's strong enough to protect them. Van thinks he should leave, but he insists they all stay to deepen their friendship together. Afterward, he feels good, and he can now sleep in a comfortable bed. The next day, everyone worked together to dig a trench along the village border. Van says it is good for defense, while also providing drinking water and being used in the bathhouse. Then they use magic to divert the water from a nearby river. The Sparta digs out a trench. He, Hampson, and the others continue to work by hand while he strengthens its floor and sides. Phil says that this is a construction project and that it's essential because people cannot live without it. And he's glad to see everyone working so hard. Moreover, he adds that improving the living conditions will make it easier to attract merchants. After all, creating a comfortable life in the future is his primary goal. Though it takes a week, he notes that they have to work patiently. Like him, he tells them to stop for the day. Willie thinks that they can reach the village if they work for a few more hours. He is amazed by his speed, and points out that Hampson and the others are exhausted. He says he was really informed, but realizes they shouldn't overdo it. And Van is surprised that he still has the stamina to keep going. The next day, thanks to all their contributions, they are done with the bridge, and when the Sparta breaks the stone wall, the river water immediately rushes through the floor. The villagers are happy as they watch their new water source, and it soon fills the trenches surrounding the borders. He thinks it might flood during the rainy season, so he proposes creating a lake in the village. The Sparta also thinks it's a good idea because a lake will also be useful during droughts. So they successfully built the lake as well, and the village now has a new reservoir. Now they also no longer need to trek to the river to fetch water. He believes that this will make life easier for the whole village. One night, a carriage carrying a noble girl named Arte and a woman Panamera, passes through the forest. The two playfully compliment each other, and it is revealed they're heading toward the remote village. Meanwhile, Van turns the temporary earth wall into a stronger concrete rampart. The adventurers say it strengthens the village's defenses, but Van doesn't think it is safe, so he creates many more stay along the wall. He attaches large protective shields to the front to protect the user from enemy attacks. He states that even though the village is small, it's starting to look like a fortress city. He says no group of men that could ever conquer it. Thinks that if Jalpa knew about his son's incredible power, he wouldn't have sent him one. He argues with Esparta about it, who says that his powers are best suited for protection, but he thinks he's more powerful than any other sorcerer. Van tells them to calm down since arguments won't do them any good, and they all have to do whatever they can. He laughs and agrees, adding that he's certain Van will make a great comeback. As they enjoy lunch, Van mentions they didn't have much ingredients left. Esparta says that they must do something about the village's regular income, and only a handful of merchants visit them once a month. Van says he can handle any moment furniture needs, and the villagers' crops must provide plenty of food. Then he says that they don't have any and he tells them to gather some products that this village can sell. Hanson thinks they can sell the wooden blocks he makes, but he rejects the idea because only he can produce it. He suggests something else. But he rejects the idea of and it's hard to think that something the state of this village will be different. Later, Van asks Hanson to kill the crown of the weapon so they can protect themselves if they are hurt. Saw shows them a shield made from the horseback of the mountain range, which is filled with monsters. Yet they managed to mine iron, copper, silver, gold, and even found a mithril ore. Van is shocked and asks why nobody discovered them earlier. Ortho guesses that the location is too remote and hard to reach, and the only survey came from the Chivalric Order's initial evaluation. Van says that if they found these at the foot, the whole mountain range must be full of resources. He immediately uses the iron ore to make an iron block, but he doesn't know how pure it is. Saul eagerly asks if he can create a sword for him, and he's ready since he already feels bad about the shield. Van then begins creating his first iron weapon, so he visualizes the blade's thicker edges, sharpness, and density, and he manages to finish the sword. Saul immediately celebrates his perfection, and tries to create a longer sword, which also turns out well. Ortho and the others also ask him to make swords. Uriel points out that they can easily sell the weapons at a high price, and Van tells them to bring more so he can create multiple weapons. Then Esparta arrives to examine the mithril ore, and he believes there must be an undiscovered dungeon nearby since finding metallic ores in forests rather than mountains is extremely unusual. He explains that a new dungeon will completely transform the village. He adds that they're a great source of gems and that the guild will immediately open a branch in the village. Van likes the idea of a new dungeon as the importance of this village will change, but he knows that the village doesn't have the resources to welcome the guild right now. Esparta says that the new servants, projectors, merchants, and even the chivalric order could flood the area, but the village lacks the facilities, food, and infrastructure to support them. Also, there is a risk of neighboring nations attacking. Uriel asks whether the people will effectively save them, and that will be discussed. Van explains the problem is that he's a black sheep of house person, and if they learn that the land is on his valuable, then it's simply sent them somewhere else. The wonder suggests they should avoid the area where the rest of the village is gathering resources, and Van thinks that this is a secret. Later, while walking through the village cemetery, he finds out that most of the housing renovations are over. He wonders whether he has run out of hand, and he replies he's really tired. Van immediately orders the drawbridge raised and the gates closed. The villagers begin panicking, but he tells them to trust him and promises to protect them and asks for their support since he cannot fight the monsters alone. The villagers quickly agree to fight the approaching monsters, and he orders everyone to take positions on the ramparts. Hanson reports that Ortho's party went hunting earlier and won't return anytime soon. He wants to join the fight, but Till stops him with tears in her eyes, so he tells B to the top to assess the situation. He immediately climbs up and reports that there are about 40 armored lizards, and they are hard to take down. He adds that even a group of veteran knights would struggle to bring down a single one. Van then orders D to load the iron bolts into the ballistae. The knight